LBC News Talk 97.3. News.
It's 9 o'clock.
This is Robbie Vincent's Nightline on LBC News Talk 97.3 FM.
Dear Lester, I trust you're well. How was your weekend? I mean, mixed bag of weather, wasn't it? Bit of rain, bit of wind, bit of sun. I trust you enjoyed a break. And if you didn't and you're feeling under the weather, you're in luck. In a moment, Family Medical Matters with Dr. Mike Smith on our regular Monday Surgery of the Air. Now, despite the fact it's my last, it's still by appointment only. So book your visit to Dr. Mike Smith with a call on 973 603 1152. And as usual, those hand-picked, and by hand-picked, I mean personally picked, long interviews, they had to have care and love and a desire to help before they were allowed to take your calls in an effort to get an appointment with Dr. Mike Smith. So if you'd like to chat over a matter medical, why don't you do it now? 973 9733 603 1152, or to put it another way,
071 973 9733.
We break from medical matters after the news at 10 for the start of a short Oscar Wilde season on our drama slot. Tonight is part one of a special reading of The Model Millionaire, A Note of Admiration. We return to medical matters with our receptionist anxious to put you through to the doctor until the news update at 10:30 and your chance to comment on some of the night's top talking topics as we find out what chance you think Phil Collins at 43 has of a long and lasting relationship with his 22-year-old girlfriend. Get your reaction to yet another man jumping into London Zoo's lion enclosure. And as Wet 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 decide 15 weeks at number one is enough, and tomorrow delete Love Is All Around, we ask what song or songs you like buried forever. Those issues and much more after the news update at 10:30. First is Family Medical Matters with Dr. Mike Smith. If you have a question medical, strictly by appointment only, please. No spotty children in our surgery. It's by appointment only, so don't turn up at the door because you won't be seen. 973 9733 603 1152.
071 973 9733.
I must say you're looking very doctorly tonight.
There I've had the suit on, Robbie.
Yes, I know, very doctorly.
Yeah.
Gary Jacobs last week was looking very legally, and tonight you're looking very doctorly. Things are looking...
We have to occasionally.
Yeah, very good, very good.
Now, in fact, as I came into the building, Peter Dealey said I looked as though I was going to see Lord Reith to do a nighttime broadcast.
No, I think you look very doctorly. You know, I think it makes you look like a real doctor. It just helps. If you have a question medical, Dr. Mike Smith is a real doctor. 973 9733. Pam is in Bickley. Go ahead. Good evening. We move from Earls Court, not too far away by telephone, to Kensington, and we're joined by Jane. Good evening.
Oh, hello, Robbie.
Oh, hello, Jane.
I thought you'd be interested to hear some friends of mine went through a divorce.
Right.
And they split the cats up. They had two.
I thought you were going to say I thought you said they cut the cat up. I thought, no, we've got someone suggesting they put a turnstile in at the lion's den so people walk straight in. I thought, no, you're someone actually...
No.
Oh, right.
It wasn't as drastic as that, but he took the male cat and she took the female.
Really?
And they settled down and were happy ever after.
Why the choice of cat? Were they personally a little...
Well, he had identified more with the male.
Really?
And she was a female, which was the tortoiseshell, and so it was the natural progression.
Right. Tell me, why would there be... That's interesting. Why would there be that sort of identification? More identification with one of the cats than the other? I mean, is this what happens in a two-cat home?
Well, I think it is possible. I do think a man would identify more with what... He was an ex-tomcat. But I think perhaps they had more in common.
An ex-tomcat? You mean he'd had the operation?
Yes.
I love it. I love it. Can you imagine that?
He's been altered.
Yeah, I've been... Now, what you have to understand is, from my studies of this over a number of years, most men, even if it's an ex-tomcat would identify with the male cat in the home? It's just, the mind boggles. There you go. They had 2 cats, but what happens when you've only got 1 cat? If you just joined us, it's Robbie Vincent's Nightline. There's plenty of time to join us. If you would like to contribute, give us a call.
This is Robbie Vincent's Nightline. If you have something to say, here are the numbers you need. 071 973 9733 or 071 603 1152.
We talked to Maureen in Pimlico. Maureen, hello. Good evening. Greetings. Well, maybe not. What we do is we'll send out the hunts for that. Ron in Brentford, I should say. Ron, slip of the tongue. Hello.
Hello, Robbie.
Good evening.
First time caller.
Big night for us both, sir.
Yeah.
Just a word to soccer fans. What about Blackburn tonight? What a surprise, hey? Getting beaten. I mean, I don't mind Motherwell being beaten, but Blackburn, the shining jewel in the Premiership, get beaten by a Swedish team? Wow, wow. But what about Newcastle, hey? 5-0 in Belgium. One terrible result, but another really, really good one. Let's go to the calls. Let's talk to George, who joins us from Harrow. Hello, George.
Hello there, Robbie. How are you doing?
Good evening.
Good evening to you. It's in relation, really, to the films that people like to watch again and again.
Yes.
I've been collecting movies now over a number of years. So I have quite a vast video collection of films that I never seem to get bored of. And one particular film, which I'm sure a lot of the viewers out there have probably seen themselves time and time again, is The Godfather. And I must have watched that film a good 100 times over, again and again, and I just never seem to get bored with it. It's a real quality type of film. I've also seen Platoon about 80 times, I'm sure. And I actually bore my friends so much they stopped coming around here now, because I'm watching the same old films all the time. But it's nice when you've got your own collection. And all these films I've gone out, I've paid for. I've actually gone out and spent good money on films that I like and films that I wish to watch again and again and again.
What do you get out of watching The Godfather again and again and again? Because you know the story inside out. Do you see something fresh every time you watch it?
Well, I mean, first of all, The Godfather has really excellent acting, and it has really great actors like Al Pacino, Robert Duvall, and of course Marlon Brando. And when I first saw the film, a lot of the dialogue that I missed out, and I watched it time and time again, and there are things that I did miss out the first time around. But it's such a brilliantly directed film. That's that type of film which I can honestly say is one of my favourite movies of all time.
But what about Platoon? What could you possibly have missed out of Platoon?
Platoon is another movie another movie that I like because again it had pretty good actors. It was about the Vietnam War, which is something which I.
But it was more blood and guts.
Yes, I think it was. Yes, it was blood and guts, but it was the reality of the war. I think it was one of those Vietnam movies which really told the story for what it was. I didn't feel personally that it glorified the violence out there, and it was another money-spinning movie. I think the film was very successful. It won a lot of Oscar awards. I think the only other film that came anywhere near it was Apocalypse Now, but it's a really long and drawn-out saga. And I know that there's been other Vietnam films made, which a lot of people didn't think was all that good. But I thought Platoon was a classic, and it disturbed me when I first saw it.
But what about all the new stuff? You see, we have satellite TV. I know a lot of it's totally unwatchable. In fact, we in this country, I think, ought to have satellite awards, and we ought to have awards for the worst channels. And there are two that are just absolutely awful beyond me. They are so bad that they are wonderful. And with all this extra availability of stuff, I just wonder why you spend time watching something old when there's so much new to catch up with.
There's a lot of new stuff around, but I mean, for example, on UK Gold, because I've actually got satellite installed now. On UK
Have
Gold,
you seen the Travel Channel?
No, I haven't seen that one. I've seen the.
It's terrible. It is the absolute pits.
What's so bad about it? I haven't seen it at all.
It is terrible. It is just awful. I just cannot believe that it can survive. I watch it for a laugh. I've never actually seen anything on it that's been particularly constructive. It's like a puff. Everything's wonderful, one of those.
Yeah.
And some of the filmed reports, I think, must have been done before the Crimean War. I mean, really, if you get a chance, give yourself a laugh. It is absolute garbage.
I'll have to check that one out. And one final point, I'm a Spurs supporter.
Put it on video. You're a Spurs supporter.
I'm a Spurs supporter.
What happened last night?
Well, I'm not too sure. It was a nightmare, really. I mean,
well, listen, Blackburn were not good tonight, and...
no, I watched that.
You did?
Yes, I saw the goal. They conceded. It was a mistake in defence.
But they weren't good tonight, and I just don't know what happened with Tottenham, but it could well be that Southampton have come alive.
Who knows?
Huh? Might be. It might be. There's somebody who watches and rewatches Platoon and The Godfather, and we ask why, with the availability of so much other material, do we sit and watch and rewatch? Because Channel 4, they know a good thing when they see it. They'll be able to flog some old programmes, video style.
This is Robbie Vincent's Nightline on LBC News Talk 97.3 FM.
Dear listener, in a moment, our regular Wednesday legal clinic with lawyer Gary Jacobs on my final nightline, and it's my final nightline, I have to say, after 6 years. Longer than a lot of marriages last, if you think about it. Despite that, Gary will still try and keep you out of jail and save money chasing legal lost causes. If you call him on either of our legal lines, we have operators in gowns and wigs standing by. 973 9733 603 1152. A new Oscar Wilde story on our drama slot after the news at 10 with the first part of The Sphinx Without a Secret. We return to your legal questions until the news update at 10:30 and your opportunity to comment on some of the night's top talking topics as we ask what really is the truth about prisoners kept in high security wings. Prison officers say they get special privileges, and in particular IRA prisoners are treated with extra special kid gloves. We ask what you think is the real truth. When is an emergency not an emergency? Police decide children busting for a wee on a service area less motorway is not one. We get your verdict. Plus, if you can understand parents being desperate to ensure their new baby is born in Scotland, not England, or England, not Wales, those issues and more after the news update at 10:30. From 12, it's the Midnight Counselling Hour, an opportunity to get some good, sensible help and advice from our counsellor, Alison Mitchell. First, it's your questions legal to lawyer Gary Jacobs. We have legal operators standing by, 071 973 9733, 071 603 1152. And in this hour, it's questions legal to lawyer Gary Jacobs on my last nightline after 6 years. But it will not be a sad programme.
Oh, no.
Gary, it's nice, I have to say, after many years of being together, you should be on my last nighttime programme with me anyway.
Well, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm sure you'll have good fun in the daytime.
Yes, but a big legal day as well. It's coincidental, isn't it?
Incredible. The things that have been going on today, people.
In Marlow, excuse me, in Marlow is David. Hello, David.
Hello, Robbie. How are you?
Good evening. I'm okay.
Yeah, I can comment on lots of things you've been talking on tonight, but it was the one on the motorway stopping.
Yes.
I've got two little kids and quite young. The oldest is 2 and just starting to want to get out of the car and do what he has to do.
Right.
So we get this problem. We zoom up onto the little police ramps. So, you and there's one every couple of miles, so you don't have to go to the next junction. Do you know where they park? And
yes, I do.
to watch it?
Where it says reserved for police vehicles only.
Now, you might get told off for doing something there, but you certainly can't be parked dangerously.
How interesting.
Because
what is the offence? I don't know that one. What is there an offence for parking on a police car hump?
Well, I would think there is one.
There probably isn't.
But I'm sure that they would not be able to tell you that you were dangerous.
There probably isn't, because that isn't... I don't think that's regarded as a hard shoulder. Wow. That's
anyway,
a real... I'm trying to think of an offence. That's
depending
real
on the
fun.
size of your audience, they're all going to be full up with people all stopping and going to the loo tomorrow.
Yes, that's great. What would they... Now, there's a challenge for you.
I know.
You realise, don't you, they're all pulling off the motorways at the moment, putting their blue lights on and running to a phone saying, "Oh, Robbie, we can think of it." I can't think of one.
Well, maybe one of them will ring you up. And,
And see if it's... Brilliant idea. What David is saying is go onto the hump where the police cars sit, and it could then not be regarded as being dangerous. Very good, David. I like your styling.
Well, there you go.
Let's see. Now, if you are the forces of law and patrolling order, what about that then? If you have a driver who goes up onto your hump where you should sit with your car to let sons and daughters have wee-wees, does that still fall into the category of being on the hard shoulder? Excuse me. And it being dangerous to stop there in what has been decreed on the M11 a non-emergency, busting for a wee. What a good one. I like it. 973 9733. That's a challenge for you. David or Javid? Javid. Javid in Stratford. Hello, Javid.
Hello, Robbie.
Yes, good evening.
Good evening. My story is about mobile phones.
Yes.
I'm a minicab driver, you see, in Stratford.
Yep.
And when I used to pick up miserable passengers, I had this little mobile plastic phone, toy one, on my dashboard.
Yep.
And what I'd do is I'd key up the cab radio so it makes a bleeping sound.
Yep.
And I'll lift the receiver and say, "Hello? Yeah? Hold on, mate." And I'll give it to the passengers. And I take this toy phone in their hands to try and answer the people, you see.
Yeah.
But there would be no one there. And that'll sort of cheer them up, you know, when I take them to destinations.
It cheered them up, Javid?
Sorry?
It cheered them up?
Oh, yeah, some people, yeah.
I am pleased to hear the people of Stratford have a sense of humour.
Well, some of them have.
Well, what about the ones that don't have a sense of humour and think that you were taking the Sir Michael?
Well, I don't really know it.
Yeah, well, obviously you haven't come across one yet. I would say this is dangerous practice, wouldn't you, dear listener? Making passenger look like complete banana. Not the sort of risk I would take with a Stratford boy. And even less would I take the chance with a Stratford girl. Javid, thank you very much indeed. Just be careful out there. Your sense of humour is not necessarily everybody else's sense of humour. Brian, you're in Streatham, aren't you?
Yes, I am, Robbie, and I'm very sorry to lose you. But listen, about the Scottish being born in Scotland or in England.
Yes.
Many years ago, and I'm dating myself now, in the 30s, my mother was a group of three sisters in a dancing act. And they were, at that time, appearing at the Empire Glasgow, and I'm sure you know about that place, where they used to have to put a net in front of the artist to stop the missiles being hit. Anyway.
You had to perform in a mosquito net, yes.
Exactly, yes, or the Alhambra. Anyway, she became very pregnant, so the other two girls had to continue the act. But she became so pregnant, and I was kicking so madly with the music that I was listening to, that she appealed to my father, who was then a musician in London, and said, "For heaven's sake, will you please bring me back to London, because if my child is born in Scotland, it's going to be born with bandy legs." And as it happens, I was not born with bandy legs, and I was born in Stockwell, in the same ward as Roger Moore, would you believe it, 3 years hence.
Really? That's lovely. How you I assume then were brought back, bearing in mind that birth was imminent. Is that the story you were told?
It was practically imminent. Yes, it was indeed.
Right.
And would you please, dear friend, put me out of your misery before you leave this lovely station? Many times ago, there were contests when you kept saying, having a man saying, "I done it." Yes, everybody knew I'd done it. And then I had to go abroad and I missed the answer. Who the heck done it?
Brian, you've got me baffled. I don't know what you're talking about.
You don't remember?
No.
No, they had to answer who it was that was talking about I'd done it, and everybody knows who's done it, and the Queen knows I'd done it, and I'd done it.
I don't think it was on my programme. That suspiciously sounds to me like something they do at 5 o'clock in the morning out of pure desperation. Unless it's something I've completely forgotten, Brian. I can't help. Thank you for your Glasgow story. Sean from the Old Kent Road.
Good evening.
Sean, good evening.
Yeah, I've got a little story. You know, you was on about the two little children that got took short for a leak.
Yes, we ask what is an emergency and what is not.
Yeah, I've got a little amusing story to tell you. About 2 years ago, my uncle used to commute from Birmingham to London on the old M40. and he got took short for a leak, but there wasn't a service station in sight for miles. So he fumbled about in his glove compartment, and he found a polythene bag. So he proceeded to pee in that. But unfortunately for him, it's one of them child ones, full of holes.
Yes, right. Thank you very much indeed. It is fun sometimes. In barking is Jackie, I should say, in Jackie's barking.
Hi.
Yeah. Jackie, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Greetings.
I'm just ringing, just to say that I've really enjoyed sort of listening to you in the last sort of 2 years, but also to let you know that I was one of the teeny boppers who used to go to Caseview in about 1981-82.
Oh, yeah.
And to sort of say I'm pleased to hear that you've started them all up again.
Yeah, well, I have to say that a lot of people who went back that far have returned, and it's been great.
Really?
Yeah, it's been really good. Yeah, and
Is it a regular thing, or?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
We're kicking off again. We got the we're doing one over the Halloween weekend. That's 28, 29, 30 of October.
Oh, it's my birthday.
Is it?
Yeah.
Right, but a lot of people said to me last time were reminding us of things that have happened over the years, and had come back, and it was great.
Yeah.
And I will actually give out the phone number. We got a case to hotline. I've just grubbed in. I've got the number, and I'll give that out in a minute. Anyway.
Is all the old regulars still there?
Oh yeah, you'd be surprised, Jackie.
Yeah. Well, it was really good, and I'm very sorry to lose you. We enjoy listening to you every evening.
But join the daytime programme if you can.
I'm working, unfortunately.
Take a radio to work.
Okay.
Thank you very much indeed. The case to hotline number is, and there'll be Chris Hill and Greg Edwards and friends for the Halloween weekend. Let's get Greg not to wear them loud shirts, though. The hotline number is 0233 633 652. 0233 633 652, and that's the case to hotline if you want to find out a bit more about it. The second all-new case to weekender, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, 28, 29, 30 of October, and you find out more on 0233 633 652. And it's real music, do you know? It's singers and melodies and people playing their own instruments. You know what I'm talking about? Great. We'll go to Coulsdon and have a word with John. Good evening.
Hello, Robbie. Yeah, a mobile phone story.
Yes, sir.
A couple of weeks ago, my wife and I were shopping at the local supermarket in Purley, and there's a guy in a suit pushing a barrow around. He gets to the bacon display, takes out a mobile phone, dials the number, and then says, "Hello, darling, I'm with the bacon. Do we have smoked or unsmoked?" And, you know, I just curled up at that. Just couldn't believe it.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very, very. That's a terrific story. Do we have smoked? Yeah, I suppose it's the sort of thing, if you've got a mobile phone, it's very useful to ask if you're not used to doing the bacon shopping. Lovely, John, thank you. If you'd like to join us on my last 40 minutes or so of looking at some of the news of the night, call 973 9733 603 1152. We're trying to get through as many views and calls and opinions as we can on the last hour.
This is Robbie Vincent's Nightline. To get involved, call 071 973 9733 or 071 603 1152.
And I've been racking my brains trying to think if it would be an offence to pop your car on the police car hump, you know, the ones on the motorway, and let your children have a pee. Would you attract the same fixed penalty notice? If you've got your law books in the back of the car, look that one up. That's a real challenge for you. Or does it fall under the same category as the hard shoulder? I suspect it doesn't, and I suspect it must be quite rare to find forces of law and order vehicles sitting on the law and order vehicle hump. It's quite an interesting idea. The Isle of Dogs and Lynn. Hello, Lynn.
Good evening, Robbie.
Yes, good evening.
Just about where you were born, actually.
Yes, ma'am.
I was born on the Isle of Dogs. All my family was born on the Isle of Dogs. I believe it just gives you a true sense of identity.
What do you mean to share with the rest of your family? Are you saying that you'd be beside yourself to discover you were born in Glasgow?
Not beside myself, but
it's just nice.
Yeah, it's just nice to be with the rest of the family.
Right. Real identity.
Yeah.
Yeah, OK, I understand that, Lynn. Thank you. The reason we asked is because we had a lady on the M6 in Cumbria dashing for Scotland to ensure her son or daughter was born there because she started contractions. In Wandsworth, Alan. Hello, Alan.
Hello, how you doing, Robbie?
Yes, good evening.
Just phoning up, actually, having sat in bed and sort of listened to some lady talking about the fact that mobile phones were useless and that her old boyfriend was a bit of a prat. I tend to find that they can help you out, certain jams which are, really necessary. For example, today, I had a meeting, couldn't get to my meeting. What do? You can't go to a payphone because they're all abused, so you use the mobile phone. It's a perfect way of communicating.
OK, Alan, I don't want to suggest you're stating the obvious, but thank you. In Slough, we talked to Paul. Hello, Paul.
Hello there. Good evening. Just basically ringing up about the whittling on the motorway.
Yes.
Well, I've tried and tested this means on a number of occasions. All you got to do is stop in the hard shoulder, pop your bonnet, lean over, do what's necessary, and that's it.
Yep.
And if anybody does come up...
Cheating a bit.
Sorry?
Cheating a bit.
Well, yeah, but if anybody does come along and say what's the problem, you can always turn around and say you've got a fluid leak, which would explain the liquid on the ground and the steam.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right. I don't advise it, but thank you, Paul. Cliff in Erith. Hello, Cliff.
Hello.
Morning. Good evening, I should say. Good evening.
Yeah, just about.
Just about.
Sorry to hear you going.
I'm not dead.
Well, no, but from the
Rumours of my death are premature, but I am moving from nights after 6 years. I'm going to see what it's like to be around during the day.
Well, it's been good listening to you over
Thank
the
you.
last 6 years. Anyway, something that you said a few minutes ago about there being no service areas on the M11. There is actually one on the M25, Junction 5, I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, a couple of years ago, I went over to France on my bike, and on their motorways, they have these service areas, and I think the furthest two that were apart are about 40 kilometres apart. I think this country needs them.
Yeah, I'm not. Sorry, you've lost me slightly. What are you saying is that the motorway provision in France is much better?
Oh, yeah.
And it's about time we got our act together and made sure we didn't have long stretches of motorway that didn't have stops on it.
Exactly.
I'm saying,
yeah.
OK. Barbara's in Islington. Barbara, hello.
Yes, Robbie, I thought you'd like to end on a comical note. It wasn't very comical for when we was travelling. Person, a bit elderly, sitting in the back, said, I need to go to the toilet. We're on the motorway, you see. Saying to him, will you hang on. He decides to do it in his trilby, throws it out the window, and it comes back into the car.
Do we think that's funny, or do we think that's not funny? Yeah, maybe, all right. It is the Midnight News next. It's then the Midnight Counselling Hour. It's an opportunity to chat over a problem with our counsellor, Alison Mitchell. Call Alison now. Don't leave it until she disappears off into the night air.
Call Robbie Vincent's Nightline on 071 973 9733 or 071 603 1152.
It's the Midnight Counselling Hour. It's an opportunity to talk over a problem, get some good, sensible help and advice from our counsellor, Alison Mitchell. It might be a fresh problem. It might be something you've been wrestling with for a few weeks. And it often helps you to see perhaps a different perspective to it, perhaps get pointed in the right direction, perhaps to start to think about your problem in a different way. It's nice to have somebody who's got fresh ideas, doesn't know you, and talks a lot of sense, like Alison. If you'd like to chat over a problem, 973 9733 603 1152, or to put it another way,
071 973 9733.
What I'm going to do on our last counselling hour together is, one of the things we rarely get a chance to do is to catch up on letters.
Yes, I always seem to get great collections of them, and we're so busy trying to get through the calls that we don't take the opportunity. So I'm going to like to clear a bit of a backlog tonight, if I may, while we have the opportunity.
Thank you for your interesting calls. This is my last one after 6 years, and it's going to be a real cultural shock, isn't it, creeping around during the day. Looking after the programme, As from tonight at 9 will be Mike Allen, and it's the Thursday Sports Hour with Andy Parkinson and the quiz, so all the usual features. I'll be back on October the 5th, 11:52, from 1 until 4 with a brand new show. Lots of sex, lots of violence. Don't miss it, because they'll all be talking about it. Next on Robbie Vincent's Nightline, it's Mike Mendoza, Through the Night. It's going to be wet and windy. It's going to be cold, so keep warm and be safe.